In 5:56, I'd like to call the Capital Project Equipment Committee Wednesday, March 11th, meeting to order. Roll call has been taken. Any changes to the agenda? Looking for motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Dorsey, second by Mr. Barrington to adopt the agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up, consider 2026 capital equipment project purchases. Judy?
All right, so I provided you with all of the current approvals of capital equipment and projects. So that's this list right here. And you can see after the approvals, there's about $27,019 left in there. So at this point, I'm gonna turn it over for a request from the Aquatic and Fitness Center from Ginger, and she'll talk about the sauna. What's going on over there?
So this is kind of an emergency fund. We have two saunas at the Aquatic and Fitness Center, one in the men's and one in the women's. The women's has, the control sensor for the temperature has went haywire, causing the temperature actually very dangerously to go very high. And then when we tried to fix it, we had our facility maintenance team working on that, and it came to find out that the actual unit itself is obsolete. It's kind of old dial style that they don't make anymore. So replacing the actual unit is probably our best it is our best option. Just because it's the unit that we would be fixing, it wouldn't be worth fixing. So, and we can't find the parts for it anyway. So, the sauna is a very popular thing at the Aquatic and Fitness Center. It's become even more popular. It's kind of a trendy thing right now for women to want to sit in saunas for detox. And so we're getting a lot of flack for it being shut down right now. You got to sign up, and it's deterring people from using the facility, which is unfortunate. So I asked Judy if we could come tonight to request that replacement. This is a unit and not the actual sauna. Our sauna, if you've ever been to the pool, it's a room that's cedar lined. And then there's a heater unit that's in it. So it's not what you would see like in a private place where it's like a actual thing that you move into the facility. It's just like a heater basically. So with rocks.
You were subtracting the one sensor, you said you weren't gonna need it?
No, we need that. This is the cost to replace the entire new unit. We did not provide a quote to just replace the sensor.
So is the one in the men's locker room the same?
It's working. It's the same one, but it's working. So no, but it'll definitely be something that we'll probably have to move forward and look at for the future.
Any further discussion on that?
So I do have 6,300 as an estimate.
We'll do all the installation ourselves. They will just provide the unit. So that's also gonna save us a little money.
We're looking for a motion to.
Was that other unit put it in at the same time this one was?
Yeah, yep, they're all way before our time, my time.
Wouldn't it be smarter to purchase both of them? So we don't have to bring this back? It's just like doing wheel bearings on a car.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You do them both? Because 3 months down the road, the other one's gonna go out? It's just a thought.
Get a month, might get 3 years out of it.
Right.
Who knows? You know?
Yeah, I don't know if they give you a better price or not, but. I mean, I don't know how much room the stuff would take up, but might not, since our guys, might not hurt to look into it.
Not a very big unit, or maybe
Yeah,
this square,
it's in the corner of the little room.
maybe that tall.
Cause I guarantee you, if
Now
one
that
go.
you brought it up.
Well, it's common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they were both installed at the same time. This one went to hell, you can't find parts for it. Who's to say next week that the other one ain't gonna go down? Then we're gonna be in the same boat we are right now.
Yeah.
It makes more sense to replace them both than it does to take the chance.
I appreciate that.
And they are readily used. a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
How much money was left, Judy, did you say?
27,000.
7,000? So you'd be looking at what, 13,000?
12,600.
Of 6.
I don't know, if it's not broken, why fix it? I'll make a motion to approve the 6,300 to replace the sauna and the women's room at the pool.
I can just say, if you don't mind me interjecting, we are getting this from a local business, so it's not like we're gonna have to wait for shipping or anything like that, but the funds are the one thing that we'd have to wait a month, you know, to have that. approved again. That's the timeline that you look at for replacement if the men's went well.
Motion made by Mr. Roberts. Second by Mr. Dorsey. To replace one sauna unit at the cost of $6,272.96.
6,300.
It's estimated cost 6,300.
63, yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carried.
Thanks, guys.
I do appreciate the getting the
Yeah.
second one.
Yeah. You, yeah.
Yeah, because I catch a little slack in it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe they'll give the second one for half price. Buy one, get one half.
I wouldn't
All
get
right.
one half price.
So next on their agenda, we're gonna talk about fire pumper.
Thanks for having me tonight again.
I did include,
I
oh, sorry, am I doing something wrong?
just bringing up that second.
Yep, so I did include, we do have the timeline. I did send that to Chad, so I have that there that we talked about at the last meeting. So we just to recap, we talked about the fire pumper at the last capital projects meeting. And it was a lot to talk about and digest, so we're like, let's call another capital meeting. And have another discussion about what this looks like and what we think about moving forward. There was a really timely article within the League magazine. I hope you got a chance to read that. They're talking about the replacement, not only of fire equipment, but of equipment at municipalities in general. They're mostly focusing on the fire apparatuses because they are $1.3 million. And just how other communities are talking about funding them. Because like I said, and they talk about this in the article, we're so used to like, okay, we're gonna buy a fire truck and we do it in that same year. And now we have to think more creatively of how are we gonna go ahead and improve approve the fire truck when in actuality, we're not gonna pay for it or not pay in total for 4 years, and what is that gonna look like? I did reach out to Ellers, and I talked to Harry, and I said, because he deals with a lot, that's our bonding consultant. What does this look like in your world? Or, you know, what are people talking about? Because he touches a lot of municipalities, and obviously when it comes to money and bonding, because that's where everyone is going with this, is bonding. I said, so what are you doing when you're ordering? What are they doing when you're ordering, you know, today? And it's a resolution to spend, just like we do with roads. So we do a resolution, what we do is a resolution to spend, and whatever that looks like, then in whatever year it comes in, and because we anticipate bonding in like 3 or 4 years. So that would be about the time that the piece of the fire equipment comes in. But again, it's all timing. So then I said, well, what are they doing if it comes in before you bond? Well, then you take out short-term bonding with the state of Wisconsin, and you hold tight until you bond, and then you refinance that money, because there's no penalty to pay those dollars back to the state trust fund. Okay, The other thing is, okay, what if they make you pay for a chassis ahead of time? Because that's real common. I've seen that a lot, and Mark will talk more of this. I'm talking in general, okay? So I just said in general, what are people doing? And he said, well, you guys sit on a pretty nice fund balance. I would say communities are funding it until that bonding comes, you know, till you're able to bond, and then they're paying it off. But again, you have to commit with the resolution. There's the first step. You say, okay, we're gonna bond for this. We say, go ahead, Mark, and, you know, get moving on it. And he would then go out and get you know, then you know how much really, because Mark just put 1 point, he didn't just put, but he knows how much they cost today and kind of forward thought to the future, and 1.3 million isn't exactly what it's gonna cost. So, so that's where I went with my journey on how are we gonna pay for it side. So first you'd have to do a resolution to spend, just like when we're gonna do a road project and we wanna start it this year and get some engineering in, so we can pay for that engineering and then pay ourselves back from the bonding. The other mix of this though is that we are currently, so depending on, Mark did a whole bunch of research. What that looks like as far as expenditure, right now we're sitting on Oshkosh Street and we're funding that with ourselves. So we have about $2 million that we're waiting to get our grant money back after we finish Oshkosh Street. So depending on what Mark talks about, and we didn't get a chance to talk because we've been working through all of our research. We'll see. It's just another thing to keep in the back of your head that we are already, you know, borrowing from ourselves, the Oshkosh Street project. So with that being said, do you have any questions on what bonding looks like? Maybe, you know, I'm just, like I said, I'm just throwing out all of the things that I kind of, that I did learn from other communities. And then if you have not had time to read this article, I would definitely go. Mark has read it. It's just a lot of good points about what we're talking about tonight. So it will at least talk about the same things that we're going to talk about, and give you another perspective from another community that says this is real and this is happening. So did you want to go through, Chad, do you want to go through any parts of the article at all, or not?
No, we don't have to go through verbatim, but like you said, I mean, the challenge of ordering them now, not getting them until later, you know, and not even knowing when you're getting them. The article's really good. I mean,
It is. Hits the nail on the head of everything we kind of talked about at the last meeting.
Just interesting timing that this came out just.
I
we're
was
not
so
alone.
excited.
So
They're all, every municipality is dealing with the exact same challenges, so.
So
one
because
thing
we're
I-
already borrowing from ourselves, there's no way we could start this until we get that money. from
Well,
Oshkosh.
we're gonna talk about that. I mean, we do have some funding, but it depends on what that looks like. So that would be, Terry said, that would be, I would suggest if you can do that, that's what the path you take. Because he knows we were sitting on, you know, the fund balance, but he, you know, I discussed Oshkosh Street with him. He didn't know that I didn't take out any short-term that I borrowed from that funding. I thought I told him that in the email, but I talked to him a lot about moving forward and how we should handle things. So I'll definitely get a hold of him again, but you know, we probably have a couple million, but you got to be really careful when you're paying bills. That we're not shorting ourselves, because we don't want to have to take out a short-term loan for paying salary. Oh. All right, with that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to Mark and he can tell you all of the things that he's learned.
So, for the payment of a truck, Marion, this is all from Marion Body. There's two choices, okay, so we can choose to, have the chassis ordered. Lead time for chassis is around 16 months. At the time Marion receives that chassis, we would have to pay whatever the cost of that body or that chassis is. And then final payment due upon delivery to the New London Fire Department. There's another option. You can make a full payment at the end of the project but then you need to add about $15,000 to $20,000 in interest. So there is some options out there, and $15,000 to $20,000 to me is a lot of money. And,
So-
but some companies, some municipalities are doing that because it's cheaper for this than it would be some other ways of funding.
Correct, and it would be. But you saying 16 months before our first payment will be paid back in grant payment. So that's a good thing. Okay, so then we would be able to, okay. So I know when you and I visited, you did talk about this article a little bit, and because, you know, you had a lot of good points and a lot of good things to, you know, talk about. I think you should kind of go through there and just, rehash what you.
So one of the things in the article, it said, you know, cut back on the extras on these trucks, and I was involved with ordering our last truck. I'm not really sure about any real extras that we put on, so I called Marion Body, the company that built it for us. He said, well, Mark, do you understand that your truck is pretty basic, and we model several trucks off of that truck because it was so basic, because people are wanting bare bones stuff. We don't have a fancy pump on there. We have a standard pump. We don't have a lot of different things, chrome wheels, all the sort of things that you can add. So we basically, the trucks we have are pretty much bare bones. There was another thing in there about refurbishing. So refurbishing, I asked, and they said, well, yeah, it's popular in some areas, but refurbishing would mean we'd have to take one of our trucks, the truck we want to refurbish, out for at least a year. So the truck's going to be gone for a year. So we're going to have no truck, no backup truck for a year. The other thing is everything on that truck that refurbished has to be brought up to NFPA standards, and at a cost of between $500,000 and $800,000 to refurbish one of our trucks. So that's a lot of money and a lot of time without a truck. So the refurbishing thing is mainly geared towards the bigger cities who have multiple fire stations, and they also have a reserve of trucks. So if one goes out of service, they just back in with the one that needs to be fixed, and they drive out with another one. We don't have that luxury of doing that. That's where the refurbing can be very optimal, right? So that's the difference. So.
Would we have that option after we bought this fire truck, or are we trading in an old one for any reserves? Or I guess, are they too old to even worry about refurbishing?
Well, the one that we're replacing as a conventional cab. So there's really, you could refurbish you could buy another conventional cab, refurbish the back of the truck, but you're still looking at $800,000, and you got old iron. You know what I mean? So, and we're out of truck free.
There's no trade-in value or any no trade-in value from the old truck or any.
No, because the truck we're replacing, what I tell you, was 86 or something. No fire department's gonna want that truck. The last two engines that we sold went to Highway Truck Parts, and they're now hauling grain around because they had low miles on them. But they took the bodies right off and just put a grain body on.
How much did you get for those?
I don't remember because I wasn't involved with that, but I don't believe it was very much money. So, yeah.
And anything would go back into the capital. At that point.
So what are we looking for tonight, Judy, from this?
Because, and when you read if you haven't read the article, it also talks about this is very difficult for all of us, okay? But we can't sit around and wait forever to make a decision about buying a piece of equipment for the fire department, because it also talks about the safety of the fire department, the safety of those guys out. So there's all kinds of things that are, I guess, I'm looking to just communicate with you guys about, what are our options, but our first step is to say, ultimately, we want to get to a point of, we're gonna buy a fire pumper, and how are we gonna pay for it? I think that really is what we need to wrap our brains around, and as a group, and talk about. I do not, as you can see, have that resolution on the agenda. So, so we'd be out at least another month, before Mark could go ahead and start his timeline. Now, also remember, this is our timeline, so we, in order to get this,
Hold on, Judy.
oh yeah, that's right. In order to get this fire pumper, and it seems like, and they talk about this a little bit, that maybe the time is shrinking between, but probably 3 years before you're gonna see that fire pumper. Another positive that he just talked about was if we paid for the chassis, we wouldn't have to pay that for 16 months. So, I feel like, yes, we wouldn't have to go out for short-term bonding. We could go ahead and borrow from our fund balance and then pay ourselves back when we bond. So that's a good thing, because by, you know, the end of summer, we're gonna have, depending how fast the state is, within the 16 months, we'll have our grant money back from the state for Oshkosh Street.
Are we
So-
to the
I mean,
point
I
where
think
that
we-
money will be locked in? Like say, if you get a quote at 1.25 million, we don't get for 4 years? Is that gonna be locked at one?
Marion said they would lock it in. There's other companies who would probably charge us, whatever the increase in parts were over the duration. They pretty much said that if we went with them, they could lock it. That's what they said. You know how things like that go sometimes, but generally, they're pretty straight shooters. In fact, we're gonna be taking delivery on our new tank truck on Saturday. And I had a $1,400 rebate or, refund because they didn't spend all the funds for the truck. So I trust Marion, because they wouldn't have had to do that. They could have certainly hit that $1,400 somewhere. So that's
I was shocked.
Are we gonna have to bid this, put this out for bid?
Chad, I would refer to you for bidding rules.
Equipment, we don't have to, because it's not considered a public works project. Public works project by state statute is materials and labor to install something. So street reconstruction projects or a building or something like that. Equipment is not in that. However, getting quotes is not a bad thing. You know, we do have some policies saying that we should be getting quotes and make sure we look at all that, but as an actual bid process, no. So like engineering does not have to be bid. Quotes, yeah, but we don't have to go through the formal bid process like a street reconstruction project per se.
I
If that
think
makes
it,
sense.
think it'd be beneficial to go out for bids, wouldn't it?
Well, you can get quotes. I mean,
Get some quotes, I mean, just so we make sure one's not.
because when you say bid
we're gonna
process,
We're gonna require quotes
Yes,
from more than just one place.
that's what I mean. He keeps talking about
Yeah.
Marion. I just wanna make sure we're not just locked in on
No, we're
Marion.
not. And when we purchased the tank truck, before we purchased, we got 2 or 3 quotes for
Okay,
that tank
yep.
truck. We ended up going with a more expensive company just because they were, the one we got from out west didn't have a lot of the things on it that we wanted, and they were reluctant to bring everything up to what we wanted. So we ended up going with, we had some issues with this truck we purchased from that company at the time.
I guess going forward in the long term, I'd definitely put this into renegotiating contracts with the surrounding communities, you know, to help pay for this. You know, I'm not
Well,
over, you know, 30 years or whatever.
Okay.
You know,
yes.
definitely try to put this into that equation. I don't know how you guys negotiate that, but
yes. So actually, that's coming up in the next year to renegotiate. It's in a 5-year term. And what we do is we look at the full cost of the program based on the equipment as it is today, the cost of the budget. And we push that out for 5 years and everybody pays their fair share. It's not just they're paying the same amount every year. We look at what the budget is changing to be. Here's the cost to us all, you know.
Good.
That gets changed. So yes, it definitely is a factor.
Any further discussion?
So I guess, what I would like to ask is, what I'd like to do is put the resolution to spend on the next finance committee agenda, because that's normally where we would approve those resolutions to spend. And it would be a not to exceed, and we want to make sure we go high enough. So, you know, so don't be shocked if it's like 1.5 million.
Makes
So,
sense.
to make, so that you're not trying to, $5,000 more and then we have to go back to the drawing board. But in between, what I'd really like to happen is that if you want to talk to Mark about anything, or you want to talk to me about anything, that you talk, come and see us. If there's something you want to say and you don't really want to do it here, or you want to talk to Mark about the bidding process and what he thinks that's going to look like, or anything. Because another thing in the articles that they talk about is the communication between the person purchasing, the finance director, and you guys is really important. Because we don't lose any respect for each other, or, feel like you're not getting what you need as far as communication to make a good, solid decision. So please take the opportunity within the next month, if you have any questions of myself or Mark, to get a hold of us. If you come up with an idea, if there's something you see, don't feel like you can't approach us and ask us, have you thought about this? Have you looked at that? Because again, I told you when I saw this too, and Mark and I have had this conversation a couple of times, and I'm just like, oh geez, I think I just want to leave and go to retire, because this is, it's hard to wrap yourself around a $1.3 million, purchase for a fire truck, and I understand that. So please take the time to think through everything that you would like answered and reach out to us if. Him and I can have, go in the same room and talk to you guys, whatever you want to do, but any communication you want with us before that next finance committee meeting. But if you so choose, if it is my direction, I will put that resolution on the next finance committee meeting. We can always have another discussion then. Hopefully Mark can come to that meeting, and then we'll move forward based on what that looks like.
I like the idea where you're saying that you don't have to pay for the chassis until it's here. Because I know of a case where the truck was paid for. In 2 years, we never got the truck. Money was with that company. We had a hell of a time getting that money back.
That was a utilities truck, right?
Yeah.
New London Utilities truck, yeah.
So you're saying that we pay for that chassis when it comes.
When they receive it at Marion, or this is Marion's policy, I haven't.
Right, well,
So if
Right.
we purchase from Marion, that's the policy.
right,
I can't say what Pierce or any other, Seagrave doesn't really build pumpers, they just build aerials and things like that, so that's probably out of the picture for that, but I can only speak because I'm familiar with these people, and I'm not saying we have to buy a truck from Marion. I just know that these guys are helpful with this process because they do want a chance at building a truck. So
And that's why, we'll get you the resolution to be able to spend X amount of dollars, but we do want to see bids. Because even if Marion is higher, the little stuff like that makes all the difference, right? I mean, you have to take a grand total of everything that they're doing.
we're definitely gonna get more than one quote once we get the specs
Yeah.
on paper. And then it's pretty easy to quote, you just gotta go down the line.
Sounds like everybody's in agreement that we can allow you to forward that resolution. We need a vote on that, Chad, or?
Nope, I mean, not until you get the resolution.
Okay, I just
You're
want to
just
make
giving
sure.
staff direction right now.
Thank you all very much, I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Mark. That's all you had, Judy? That's all you had?
That's-
Next capital and equipment project meeting will be scheduled on an as-need basis. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll look for adjournment.
move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Verche, seconded by Mr. Barrington.